What's happening, family? Listen, so I was just watching one of these self-aware narcissist channels, and when I first started in my journey, I'll just say this. When I first started in my journey, I would listen to a vast variety of different people talking about narcissism because I wanted to have a broad understanding of what I was dealing with. So I listened to the self-aware narcissists themselves. I listened to victims of the narcissist. I listened to psychologists, Sam Vaknin, all of those kind of people. And I still continuously listen to these people, pretty much daily, just trying to get a better understanding of what I'm dealing with in my life and what I've been dealing with in my life, and that there are people like this that even exist. So when I first started, I would listen to a vast variety of different information coming from all over the place. And then halfway throughout my healing journey up to this point, I started realizing that I needed to hone that in some and start taking the valuable information from the people that were actually helping me heal and helping me go through my process. And, every once in a while, I'll still stumble across different videos from all of the different people that I was following at the very beginning. And one of the videos that I came across recently was from a self-aware narcissist, and they were basically explaining that the victim telling their truth was also considered a smear campaign. And I thought that was like extremely disgusting when I saw the video. And the reasoning behind it was basically they were saying that just because two people get a different perception of the same incident or the same circumstances, that basically doesn't mean that this person is right or this person is wrong. And I definitely get that. And so basically the self-aware narcissists that I was listening to, they were basically saying on their channel that just because I think differently doesn't mean that I'm wrong, and that should be okay for me to basically smear your name however I want to. And if you try to smear me back, then you're just as bad as I am. So it was kind of funny to me because one of the other things that one of the other self-aware narcissists always says is intent matters. So I'm sure you guys have come across Mental Illness's page. One of the things that he always says is intent matters, intent matters, intent matters. He talks about the intentions of the narcissist and why they do certain things. So it was kind of contradictory because I'm listening to this particular person's page, and they're basically saying that, okay, listen, you may have interpreted things differently than I did, but that doesn't make my story wrong. And when I'm thinking about every smear campaign that I've been through, which I've been through at least 2 smear campaigns that were pretty big and pretty bad that I can think of in my lifetime. But in each of those situations, there were so many things that did not happen at all. Like it would be one thing if we were working with the same set of circumstances and we just interpreted things differently. That would be a whole nother thing. You know what I'm saying? Then I could kind of see where this person was coming from. But what I noticed in the smear campaigns that I went through was there was a lot of misinformation of things that never happened at all. So there was no way of combating that. There was no way of like defending myself in any of that kind of stuff, because it was literally stuff that was made up out of thin air that didn't have anything to do with the situation at all. So I just felt like that was kind of, just disgusting for this person to actually try to spin the narrative and say, well, if you go out and you say your truth, then you're just as bad as the narcissist because now you're out here smearing them. I absolutely disagree with that because, like Mental Illness says, intent matters. If I am telling my story to protect myself from your lies or your deceitfulness, or if I'm telling my story to protect my family and my loved ones, so that these people know what's going on in our situation, especially if you are still attacking us. Because this is the thing, I was extremely quiet in my situation about everything for the last 3 years. My discard came in like 2019, 2020. So I would say at least for the last 2 years, I was extremely quiet, didn't say anything about anything. But that did not stop the narcissist from continuously poking at me behind the scenes, trying to send me pictures of her in a new supply, trying to, trying to get me into some form of reactive abuse. She was still trying to push every button that I had, regardless of whether I was quiet about it and didn't say anything about it or not. So eventually, if you continue to poke and poke and poke and poke and poke at somebody, then they're going to retaliate. They're going to eventually fight back. I don't care who it is. I don't care, what it is, what type of animal it is, whatever the case may be. If you back anything into a corner and you keep pressing them up against that corner, especially when they have tried to be peaceful, they've tried to walk away in the situation, they've tried to let things go, they've tried to move on and heal and all of that kind of stuff, and you're steadily poking at them, you're steadily pushing at them, you're steadily trying to get some type of reaction out of them. See, that's the stuff that the self-aware narcissists don't tell you when you come across their channel. They will tell you, well, I don't think about you once I'm done with you and once I'm over. That's totally false, because if that were the case, you wouldn't still be pushing my buttons a year and a half, 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, that kind of stuff. You wouldn't still be, sending me random text messages and trying to catfish me on social media sites and all of that kind of stuff. Like, you wouldn't be doing none of this kind of stuff if everything that y'all were saying was extremely accurate and truthful. So my thing is, intent matters. The same way mental illness always explains that the behaviors of the narcissist, the intentions behind their behaviors matter. It also matters in this case when the victim starts to tell their story and tell their truth. The victim didn't just, a lot of times, most victims just want peace out of the situation, but they're continuously being pressed into having to feel like they have to defend themselves. They have to defend themselves, because it's not like if you just go peaceful that the narcissist just leaves you alone. They don't just leave you alone just like that. I wish in my situation I would be at peace if the narcissist would have just taken her loss and left me completely alone, and that would have just been that. Okay, yeah, the situation would have still been painful. I would have still had to go through the healing journey and all of that kind of stuff, but I would not have had as hard of a time getting through it without somebody continuously still pressing my buttons and trying to do everything in their power to sabotage anything that I had going on. So, man, these self-aware narcissists, man, y'all need to stop, man. Like, y'all need to cut it out and really be truthful about everything that it is that y'all are doing out here. If y'all gonna tell part of the story, tell the whole story. Like, don't leave out bits and pieces and try to, spin it back on the victim and say that it's our fault because, or not even necessarily that it's our fault, but that we're just as bad because we finally reacted to something, to all of your provocations. Like, anybody is going to eventually react to being constantly provoked. So I just wanted to drop that on y'all real quick. I felt like that was extremely disgusting, and I hope you guys don't get deterred from telling your story. If you feel like you need to tell your story in your healing journey, salute to everybody that does, because I feel like the more and more education that gets out here about what's going on, the more and more people that will wake up and like even mental illness says, get into therapy, for narcissists or victims who need to get into therapy, or even outside of just getting into therapy, just being truthful and honest about what's going on out here, man. So that's my video. I just wanted to drop that on y'all real quick. I really felt like that needed to be addressed because it's a lot of misinformation and bad information coming from victims and narcissists. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't feel like nobody is completely right in the situation. I don't feel like nobody's completely wrong in the situation. But when I come across something that I feel like is completely wrong, I definitely gotta address it. So salute to the family. I love y'all. That's my video, and I'll get back with y'all in a minute.